Hello everyone, this is Sarah from Girl Scouts of Wisconsin Badgerland, and today we are going to do the Design and Make Your Own Maze activity. This activity is for girls who are in kindergarten through 5th grade or our daisies, brownies, and juniors. This activity won't earn any badges, but you can use what you learn from this activity to earn any of the mechanical engineering badges and the coding for good badges for any age level. So remember all the things you're learning so you can use them for later badges. Before we get started on the activity, I want to just talk to you girls about a few things you need to know so we can make our maze. The first is, what is an engineer, or who is an engineer? So an engineer is someone who likes to solve problems. And I'm sure there's a lot of you out there who love solving problems. And so an engineer uses their skills to come up with new ideas. They use their imagination to think of ways that they can solve a problem. And they do this through a thought process. So the thought process has 5 steps. Step number 1 is ask. So they ask, what is their problem? So our problem today is, what kind of maze are we going to build? How difficult is the maze we are going to build? So we just ask ourselves questions on what we think the problem is. Step 2 is imagine. So here's where we write or draw all of our ideas. We brainstorm, just think of all the different things that we can do to help solve this problem. So for our maze, it could be, what kind of obstacles do I want? How hard should this be? What supplies do I need? How big should it be? So all of these different questions we can write down when we brainstorm. The third step is to plan. So once we've came up with what we want our idea to be, we need to make a plan. So that can be drawing it. It could be writing your supply list. It could be both. But we need to sit down and plan what we want to do to make our idea come to life. So with our maze, we will be planning together what we want to do to create our maze. Step number 4 is create. So that's when we're going to create our idea and bring it to life. So for us, it will be when we use our supplies to make our maze. And the 5th step is the most important step to me, is improve. So what can I do to make my idea even better? How can I make this maze even better than what it is? And you might be doing the improving while you're creating it. So while you're doing your maze, it's okay to not follow your plan. If you think of a better idea or a different way you want to make your maze, you can improve it then. But we always want to think about how we can improve something after we finish it. And that is the engineer thought process that we will be using for today's maze. So first, before we get started, let's go ahead and check out our supplies that we have here today. So I have my paper and pen for my planning. I have my marble and paper plates. I have some construction paper. I have scissors and tape. I also have some paper cups and pipe cleaners, and I have different straws. So I'm going to use these supplies to come up with my maze. Now, it's okay if I don't use all of these supplies. It's okay if I do use all of these supplies, or it's okay if I think, I want to go find something else around the house to make this maze even better, and do that too. So it's all up to you, and I would love to hear about the different supplies that you might use at home. I know before people have used Play-Doh or clay or cardboard rolls. Anything you can find to make your maze, I encourage you to do so. So let's get started on our step 1 of our thought process. So first, I want everyone to reach up and pull down their engineering thinking cap and make sure it's turned all the way up. So now that we have our engineering thinking cap on, we are going to become engineers. So step 1, let's ask ourselves what we want to do. So for me, I want to create a fun maze that I can do while at home and that I can challenge my roommate to do. So that's what kind of maze I want to do. So now I'm going to imagine and brainstorm some of my ideas and write them down. So I think for my maze, I want it to be hard. I want there to be obstacles and I want it to be fun, and I want to find ways to make it better each time someone plays it and get their feedback. So now that I've thought of some ideas and brainstormed, I'm going to brainstorm some different supplies that I might not have here in front of me that I could use. So I could find some popsicle sticks that might help, some cardboard rolls, and all the supplies I have here. So now we're going to go to step 3 and plan. So this is when you'll need your paper and your pencil to draw or write a list of your ideas that you want. And I'm going to use markers so that you're able to see, but I really encourage you to use pencils so that you can erase or do something over if it's not going to work in your initial plan. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a circle so that it looks like my paper plate. And my paper plate has ridges all around it. So I'm going to draw those ridges in because I want to use those in my design. So far, this is what I have on my paper plate design. I think too, I want to draw on my plate where I want my maze to start. So I'm just going to write start and where I think I want it to finish. So I want it to start in one place and finish in another. And then I'm going to draw how I want it to look. So I want it to have some curves and bends in it all the way to the finish. And then I think I want to build some bridges or some archways over my track. I think maybe that will help me make sure that I stay on the path. It might help with the side so my ball doesn't fall off. I think I might cut a hole by the finish line, so I have to try to avoid the hole and get to the finish. I might cut some other holes around the plate just for a bigger challenge. And I think I want to use the ridges in my plate for my ball to roll down to start. So I'm going to color in that part. And then I'm going to just write down what supplies I'm going to use. So I'm going to use the pipe cleaners and the straws for the track. I'm going to use paper to make my archways. And then I think at the end, excuse me, I'm going to have the ball end in one of my paper cups. So I'm going to draw that in. And like I said, you can change your design as you go. So even though I drew this as my plan, it's not what I have to do to actually create my maze. I can do this, and if something's not working, I can change it along the way. That is one of the best parts of engineering. You get to just keep thinking of new ideas and trying new things and seeing which works the best. So far, this is what I have for my plan, and it's okay if you're not a great artist. As long as you know what you want to do in your plan and you can follow it and understand it, that is perfect. So you can see I drew my path, the archways, the circles on my plate are holes that I'm going to cut. I drew a start and an end. So all of these things will help me when I go to design my maze. So now that I've asked questions, thought of ideas, and have planned what I'm going to do, we're going to go ahead and get started on actually creating the maze and going into step 4, which is creating the maze. So what I'm going to do first is put my marble in one of these balls to keep it in a nice safe place. And for me, I'm going to mark where I want my maze to start and where I want it to end around. That way for me, when I start to put things down, I know where I should be going. And if you can draw on your plate, or you can just go ahead and start using your tools to put things down. And so I'm going to start by cutting pipe cleaners. I want those to kind of be the first part of my maze. Whoops. And then I'm going to tape those down. And I'm going to keep working, and I will check in with you guys every few seconds to show you my progress. So far, I have used pipe cleaners, straws, and construction paper. So you can see I've started my path, and then I used the straws to make sure my ball would not be able to roll over, because I think it might be able to roll over the pipe cleaners. So that might be something I have to change. So I put the straws in to see if those help hold the ball in place better. And then I used the paper to create an archway in the hopes too that it doesn't fall off of my plate. And I'm going to continue working, and I'll keep you updated. So from where we started and left off, I've added more pipe cleaners and straws. I'm hoping that this straw up here will make sure my ball doesn't roll off the edge of the plate. And now we're continuing my path down to where I want my maze to end. So I'll check back in when I'm almost complete. Now I'm almost to the end, so I have, I think, my track built and my archways, and at the end, I'm going to use one of these paper cups to be the place where my ball ends, but before I'm going to cut a hole in my plate to make a little bit of a bigger challenge. Stay tuned. So what you can see is that I marked a hole right here in my plate, and I would suggest asking a grown-up to help, maybe helping you cut through the paper plate. That way you don't hurt yourself with your scissors. But I'm going to test to see if the ball will fit through or not. I want it to not fall into the hole and be stuck like it is here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the hole a little bit bigger so that the ball would fall through the maze. Is big enough for the ball to fall through, so I'm going to tape my final piece and test out my maze. The starting point is here, and it's going to go through this track all the way through to the end, where it can either go down the hole and I would have to start over, or I have cut a little hole in the cup where it can go safely into the cup to the end. So I'm going to test out my maze to see what works and what doesn't work so that I can improve it and use that. So I'm going to start it by running it down the rim, and so far so good. Oh, the straws are really helpful. They've really helped so far. All right, so here's the part of my maze that is very tricky. So let's see if I can get it through to the cup. Oh, up, fell off the track. So I can start over. I can start from back there. That's something that you can do, or that I can do to improve. So I didn't really have set rules for my maze, but maybe I can say if you fall off the track, you have to start over. So I'm going to try it one more time and hopefully succeed. So that's one improvement. Another improvement is my cup is on the beginning part of my track, so I might need to find a better place to put the cup, as well as maybe using glue once I found the exact track I want, because the tape is kind of sticking up and my ball is catching onto it. All right, so I'm here at the end, and oh, it landed in the hole. So I wasn't able to successfully complete it. So things that I might do to improve, like I said, is move the cup, because right now it's overlapping my track. I might move the track out a little bit more so that I can put more holes throughout to make it really challenging. I might use glue instead of tape because sometimes the ball is getting stuck on the tape. So you might have to wait for it to dry if you use glue. And another thing I might do is I might use a bigger plate. This plate seems kind of small, but it's what I had. So now that you've made your first maze, I encourage you girls to do something bigger. So I know some girls before they put their maze on the wall and built a wall maze. You can do it on a poster board. You could maybe try to create a maze outside. Whatever your little engineering caps are making you think of, I challenge you guys to do that. And I also want to encourage you girls to look at the mechanical engineering and coding for good badges that you can use the thought process that you use to create other ideas such as a car or a crane or a boat. So all of those things you can use the engineering thought process to make and build those things as well. I hope you girls will share your photos. If you will email them at info@gsbadgerland.org. We would love to see your creations and what you've came up with. I hope everyone's having an excellent day, and I hope to see you soon. Take care.